Should you move to Cumming or Alpharetta? Today we're taking a look at 8 different categories, putting the cities head to head, dishing out points, and at the end we will declare a winner. The categories are population density, downtowns, location, home prices, healthcare, schools, safety, and things to do. Hey, my name's Joel. I'm a local realtor here in the metro Atlanta area. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn everything about what it feels like to live here, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you can stay up to date on everything there is to know about living around Atlanta. Let's get started. So if you're new here, here's a little bit of the Cliff Notes. Cumming, Georgia is located about 30 miles northwest of Atlanta up Georgia Highway 400. It's going to be just past Alpharetta. And depending on where you live, it's going to determine what kind of lifestyle you have. More on the south side, it's going to be more developed, a little bit more densely populated. And on the north side, it's going to be much more open and more rural feeling. Alpharetta is just south of Cumming and is one of the most popular suburbs in the metro Atlanta area. Cumming is a rising star though. Does it have enough to take the crown? Let's dive into the categories and see who comes out on top. So, do you like being surrounded by people, maybe friends, maybe family, maybe strangers? Or do you like to have your space and maybe you don't even want to see your neighbor? Population-wise, Alpharetta has just under 70,000 residents. When we talk about Cumming, Georgia, I always put in the perspective of Forsyth County. If you only took the population of the official city of Cumming, it's only about 9 or 10,000 people. However, if you took everyone with a Cumming address on their mail, that's going to be about 85% of all of Forsyth County, which is enormous. That population is about 275,000. If we took 85% of that, it's going to be about 230,000. That's a lot of people. As far as how the population density feels, it's going to differ depending on which part of Cumming you live in. If you're on the south side, it will certainly feel much denser and more like Alpharetta. If you're on the north side, it's much more open, much more space between houses, larger lots, even some farmland. Alpharetta just isn't going to have anything like that. There will be some bigger lots. It's just going to put the home price over $1 million and up to $10 million, depending on the home and the lot size. Everyone has their own preference as to what kind of community feel they're going for. Since Cumming offers more options, I'm going to give them the point here. So, who has the better downtown? Well, this might be an easy one. First is that both cities have a downtown, but then probably a more interesting mixed-use development that acts more as the soul of the city. Downtown Alpharetta is cool. It's got some good restaurants, it's got a little green space, it's got some retail, but the real star of the show is the Avalon. If you're looking for some nightlife, somewhere to take your date, somewhere to hang out with friends, there's a high probability that you're gonna be heading here. The restaurants are better, there's way more parking, it's walkable, there's just something for everyone. Live music, movie theater, shopping, drinks, great food. There's also a little soft play area for the little ones if they're getting antsy. Cumming's downtown is terrible. I mean, it's literally nothing. It's just a bunch of courthouses and other municipal buildings. Real talk, no joke, honest truth. I first went there for my first video of Cumming and couldn't believe that such a big city just didn't have anything. But wait, that's not the whole story. They fixed it. They developed a brand new mixed-use development, fresh from scratch. It's called Cumming City Center, and it's just to the north of the downtown area, right over the tree line of Forsyth Central High School. It is a great gathering space with a huge green right in front of the stage. All the restaurants are kind of built in the round facing the stage, so anytime there are events, live music, or sometimes they'll just put the biggest sports game on at the time, you can sit in the outdoor section and just be a part of the event while you're getting some food or some drinks. They also have a mini golf course if you want a nice little activity to do while you're there. And they're also about to make some big expansions with 74 single-family homes, 368 apartments, a Hilton hotel with a conference center, and a police headquarters, all set to open in 2026. If you're looking for some great real estate options, let me know, because this would be an amazing place to live. Although Cumming has come a long way in the past 5 years, it's still playing catch up to what Alpharetta has. Maybe one day it will pass it by if it keeps developing, but for now, Alpharetta gets the point. So obviously Cumming is further north than Alpharetta is, so this is a decision of what type of lifestyle you're looking for. Both will be directly north of Atlanta, going up Georgia Highway 400. Alpharetta is more central, giving you easier access not only to Atlanta, but the rest of the metro Atlanta suburbs. In fact, Alpharetta's infrastructure is a lot of the reason some of these other suburbs exist in the first place. Residents wanted to be close by, but Alpharetta was already so full that they created their own community. Looking at you, Johns Creek. Roswell's to the southeast, the Chattahoochee River is not too far away, and Milton is to the northwest. Now, there's not a ton to do in these surrounding communities. Honestly, being close to Alpharetta is the draw for them, not the other way around. It's got the Avalon, downtown Alpharetta, North Point Mall, and tons of parks and restaurants. More on all of that a little bit later. For Cumming's location, it really depends on which part of Cumming you're talking about. In southern Cumming, it's much more developed. Again, very much acting as an extension of Alpharetta. Once you get past exit 14 or 15 on Georgia 400, it starts to thin out real fast. There's a lot of new construction going up, so I would say there will be more development and civilization in, maybe 10 years or so, but for now, it's pretty quiet. So what are you into? Do you want to be in the middle of all the activity, maybe deal with a little or a lot more traffic? Or do you want to be in a quiet, slower pace of life? For me, I like everything right at my fingertips. I'm going to give the point to Alpharetta. In Alpharetta, there are currently 327 homes available for sale. 193 of them are going to be detached, 134 are going to be attached, something like a townhome or a condo. As far as the range, it's going to be anywhere from a $250,000 condo up to a $10 million plus equestrian estate. And I'll tell you right now, almost everything under the $400,000 mark is going to be attached housing. I just checked and there are count them, two detached homes under $400,000. If you're looking for something detached, you're going to have to clear that $400,000 mark. Of the 327 homes available, 283 are going to be above $500,000, that's 86%. 195 are above $750,000, that's 60%. And 135 are above the $1 million mark, that's 41%. There's a wider range of real estate in Cumming because it's a lot of land and there's such a difference between the northern and the southern halves. You will certainly be able to find what you're looking for here. It just may not be in the location that you want though. On the north side, you can find a little detached home for as little as $225,000. Depending on where you are, it might have been a minute since you saw a 2 at the beginning of a price, at least for a 6-digit price. If you're on the southern side or close to the lake, you can be looking at as much as $7 million depending on how much acreage there is. The current median price in Cumming is $610,000, and depending on where you're at in the country, that might be amazingly high or amazingly low. There's been an enormous amount of value appreciation over the past 3 years, although that has started to level off. And at the end of the day, there are just more home price options in Cumming. Of the 606 currently available homes, only 35% are above $750,000 and 13% are above $1 million. Bottom line, it costs more in Alpharetta, and in Cumming, the closer you get to Alpharetta, the higher the price gets. Point goes to Cumming for affordability and diversity of options. By the way, if you're thinking about buying or selling anywhere in the metro Atlanta area, I would love to help. My information is below in the description. You'll also see it right here at the bottom of the screen. Call, text, email. I'm always happy just to answer questions or have a conversation. The good news is that both cities are set up pretty well when it comes to healthcare. The big difference is that Cumming is home to Northside Hospital Forsyth, a full-service hospital, while Alpharetta primarily offers outpatient services and smaller medical campuses. Northside Forsyth is a great hospital. It's part of the Northside family of hospitals around Atlanta. There's Cherokee, Forsyth, Atlanta, Duluth, as well as a ton of smaller medical centers scattered pretty much everywhere. These hospitals offer great care and service. If you're elderly, maybe you're retiring here, maybe you have a loved one with some medical needs, maybe you just like the peace of mind. This can be a huge benefit to be in Cumming and have proximity to all of these services here. Alpharetta, on the other hand, features medical campuses which provide outpatient services. If you have inpatient care needs, you're going to be relying on nearby hospitals like Wellstar, North Fulton Hospital in Roswell. There's a Northside Medical Campus there and Northside Atlanta Primary Care. And while they're smaller, are rated high performing for what they do. For full service hospital care, Cumming's Northside Hospital Forsyth offers a much broader range of services with great ratings. Alpharetta provides quality outpatient services, but just lacks that full service hospital within the city limits. We're giving the point to Cumming. Lots of schools to cover in this one, so stay with me. School systems in Georgia are going to be divided by the county lines, and Cumming and Alpharetta are going to be in two different counties. Cumming will be in the Forsyth County School District, and Alpharetta is going to be in the Fulton County School District. Technically, there is a sliver in North Alpharetta that crosses over into Forsyth County because the city and the county lines don't add up around here, but we're going to ignore that today. Both of these counties are very highly rated. Forsyth is the number 2 county in the Atlanta area, and Fulton is the number 12 county, according to niche.com. Now, I have some more to say about this. First is that there are some cities around Atlanta that operate a single high school outside of the county school system. This has since been abolished, but those who are operating this way were grandfathered in, like City of Marietta, City of Cartersville, and Beaufort. If we take those cities out of the data, Forsyth is number 1 and Fulton County is number 6. Secondly, Fulton County has this very weird shape that stretches all the way south of the city. If you just took what you would expect Fulton County to be, all of those high schools are getting A's and A pluses, so I would think it would wind up in the top 3, maybe top 2, maybe even top 1. Schools in Cumming are going to be Forsyth Central, West Forsyth, North Forsyth, South Forsyth, and Denmark High. Alpharetta schools are going to be Alpharetta High, Chattahoochee, and Cambridge. So who has the best schools? First of all, it gets dicey for me to comment purely based on my opinion. There's a long history of steering, redlining, and real estate agents performing feats of malpractice based on factors of race, ethnicity, and other less than stellar reasons. So what we'll do is take rankings from third-party sites, compile them together, and generate an overall ranking. Is the system I've just devised for the purposes of this video the de facto arbiter of which schools are better and which are the worst? Absolutely not. But this gives you a clue into where you might go to do more of your own research and what you might be looking for. Now that we have the obligatory CYA out of the way, let's take a look at some of those numbers. I'm pulling data from niche.com, greatschools.org, and US News. From niche.com, we're looking at the letter grade, and from greatschools.org, we're looking at the rating out of 10, and from US News, we're looking at the overall rating out of 100. Forsyth Central is right in the center of Cumming near City Center. It gets an A- on niche.com, a 6 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and an 80.5 on US News. South Forsyth is, you guessed it, on the south side of Cumming. It gets an A+ on niche.com, a 10 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and a 98.2 on US News. That will certainly be hard to beat. We're going to place that right above Forsyth Central. West Forsyth is over on the northwest side of Cumming, heading towards Canton. Gets an A- on niche.com, an 8 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and a 90.3 on US News. That will go under South Forsyth and above Forsyth Central. North Forsyth High is on the north side of the city. Gets an A- on niche.com, an 8 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and an 82.4 on US News. That will go to the bottom below West Forsyth. Finally, we have Denmark, which is also on the south side. because it's certainly more densely populated down there. It's gonna get an A+ on niche.com, a 7 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and a 95.5 on US News. That will place Denmark in our current number 2 spot. That's all the schools in Cumming, so let's see how the schools in Alpharetta stack up. Alpharetta High is centrally located. It gets an A+ on niche.com, an 8 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and a 95.9 on US News. That will place it above Denmark and below South Forsyth. Chattahoochee High is on the south side. It gets an A+ on niche.com, a 9 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and a 97.8 on US News. That will take over the number 2 spot above Alpharetta. Finally, there's Cambridge High on the north side. It gets an A+ on niche.com, a 9 out of 10 on greatschools.org, and a 95.8 on US News. That will go under Chattahoochee and above Alpharetta. So Cumming has the top spot with South Forsyth, but Alpharetta has more consistent excellence with spots 2, 3, and 4. Me, I value consistency more than the outliers, so I'm giving the point to Alpharetta here. If you need help figuring out the area that would work best for you, please go ahead and reach out. My number's right here at the bottom of the screen. I'm always happy just to answer questions or have a conversation. Let's get that relocation process started. Similar to the schools conversation, I'm not going to claim myself that one is safer than the other. We'll just look at some data from some reputable sites and name one a winner via this semi-arbitrary system that I've devised here. Okay, I'm actually having to refilm this part because Neighborhood Scout updated their data and it's very different. So if things look a little bit off, I need a haircut, that's what's going on here. Now, here's the info for Alpharetta. The crime rate in Alpharetta is considerably higher than the national average across all communities in America, from the largest to the smallest. Although at 17 crimes per 1,000 residents, it is not among the communities with the very highest crime rate. The chance of becoming a victim of either violent or property crime in Alpharetta is 1 in 60. Based on FBI crime data, Alpharetta is not one of the safest communities in America. Relative to Georgia, Alpharetta has a crime rate that is higher than 64% of the state's cities and towns of all sizes. However, compared to other communities of similar population size, Alpharetta has a crime rate that is noticeably lower than the average. This means that for comparably sized cities all across America, Alpharetta is actually safer than most, according to Neighborhood Scout's exclusive analysis of FBI crime data. Now, let's see how this compares to Cumming. With a crime rate for both violent and property crime combined of 5 per 1,000 residents, the crime rate in Cumming is one of the lower rates in America among communities of all sizes, lower than 70% of America's communities. One's chance of becoming a victim of crime in Cumming is 1 in 206. Compared to communities within Georgia, Cumming's crime rate is lower than nearly 72% of the state's cities and towns. Now, this is very different from the data we had previously. It wasn't terrible, but it also was not a raving endorsement for safety. I don't know what Cumming did to turn things around, but good for them. Point for Cumming. Super important to our comparison is the availability of activities and things to do when I leave my house. Let's take a look at Cumming first. There's good outdoor activities like Lake Lanier, Fowler Park, and other great parks. The Big Creek Greenway, Sawney Mountain hiking, there's the Aquatic Center, and then there's more modern amenities like the Collection at Forsyth, which apparently is not the hip place to go anymore, but I still think it's great. Maybe I'm becoming uncool in my old age. Halcyon is a great work, live, play community, albeit it's technically in Alpharetta. There's good restaurants and retail here. It's like the Avalon, but smaller. Cumming City Center, which they developed straight from scratch, is what I would say is the crown jewel of the city. It's a really nice town center area with an amphitheater, green space, restaurants, boutique shops, and they're adding to it with apartments, single family homes, and a police station. And there's a lot on the horizon. The biggest thing coming to Cumming is the development called The Gathering, which is a massive sports arena with surrounding retail, restaurants, and green space, with the idea of potentially bringing in an NHL hockey team, rest in peace Thrashers, and serve as another huge concert venue. Think Truist Park in the Battery where the Braves play over in Cobb County. This will bring enormous economic development to the area. Technically, again, it's gonna have an Alpharetta address, but it's still in Forsyth County, so we're claiming it for Cumming here. Alpharetta offers a ton of amenities as far as things to do, nightlife, parks, restaurants, etc. It's a bit of a mecca for Metro Atlanta, especially on the east side. So much so that a lot of the surrounding communities are traveling into Alpharetta for everything that it has to offer. I keep mentioning the Avalon, which I would consider the #1 hotspot for perhaps all of the Atlanta area. Anywhere that is developing a mixed-use facility like the aforementioned Gathering and Cumming, or the new town center over in Johns Creek, which is currently in development, is taking its blueprint from the Avalon. Downtown Alpharetta is a great spot as well, certainly not as popular or well loved as the Avalon, but it's also just smaller and doesn't have actually just the parking facilities to accommodate any of the larger numbers. And Alpharetta is one of the few cities in Metro Atlanta, maybe even in the US, that still has a functioning mall. Comment below, do you still go to malls? Cumming, Georgia is set up pretty well when it comes to activities and amenities. If Alpharetta is a 10, which is stacked with amenities, and Johns Creek is a 1, which is basically a bunch of nice neighborhoods and good schools, then Cumming is like a 5 or a 6. Maybe with more development, it overtakes Alpharetta as the premium location for things to do, but for now, Alpharetta remains the champ. And the winner is... Hi, me from the future again. So because of the reshoots, this ends up being a tie, 4-4. As an American who generally doesn't have ties in any of our sporting events, I kind of hate that. I want a clear, objective winner, but in actuality, both of these places are great in their own right. So use the information and pick the place you think will work better. Back to past me. Now for you, you may weigh these categories heavier than others. You might not even care about some of these factors. You might not even agree with some of my conclusions. So make sure you're always choosing the city that is going to work best for you and your lifestyle. If you're looking for help, reach out to me, give me 3 or 4 things that you're looking for, and I'll be able to drop you in the place or places that will work best. If you're looking for other options, check out this playlist right over here and you can learn about some of the other cities around Atlanta that might work better. I'll see you in the next one.